Sweeney here, and welcome to the Friday Reload number 11. Now, what we aim to do with the Friday Reload is get you caught up on what you might have missed in the week and cut through the fluff and summarize the best posts, news, and videos of the week. Now, I want to apologize. This Friday Reload's coming out a little bit late. Now, I came down with a sore throat on Wednesday. You might hear it in my voice. Hopefully you don't. So it took me a little bit longer to kind of muscle through and get this done. But I still wanted to get it done and get it out there for you. So sob stories aside, let's get into the Friday Reload. Some of the headlines this week include create an email sucking machine, case study, email opt-ins increased 91% with one simple technique, and how to stop your site from leaking money. So we're very focused on emails and money, and there's a lot of Facebook news which we'll put towards the end of the Friday Reload. So our first story, we had Kevin Davis on the Triggercast, who shared with us about Facebook advertising. He currently runs 7 figures in Facebook advertising yearly, and he also discussed his overlay targeting a little bit. Now, what was really great about this interview and what I really enjoyed with it, now besides the fact that I think that he might be one of the smartest Facebook advertisers I know, is that because he's doing it on such a larger scale, maybe you've spent $1 in Facebook ads. Maybe you spent $10 a day or $100 a day. But to try to get to this level where you can spend $1,000 a day or $2,000, $3,000 to spend these higher amounts, there's a different way you have to set up your ads, and there's a different way you have to set up your targeting, and there's a different structure you need to follow. So he helps us understand that, and also puts us in his mind a little bit when it comes to his unconventional bidding strategy. And I asked him the ever important question, are Facebook fans still worth it? Now, his response might surprise you. Check that out and listen to it if you have not yet. Our next story is a new feature added by Slideshare. You can now add SlideShares to your LinkedIn profile. Now, if you're wondering why we're covering this, part of the reason for that is because when I was creating the Phil Newton interview on the Triggercast, I created a SlideShare from a flowchart that he had given me, his process flowchart for doing ads. And it was so unoptimized that the title wasn't even all capital letters. It was just process flowchart by Phil Newton. And I embedded it on the post, and it had over 1,600 views. Now, that post itself did get a lot of views, so it's hard to really know, how many views came from the post, how many views came from the embed. I know they say it on there, but I'm still curious what the numbers are. Regardless, the amount of traffic that came in was still surprisingly and nice, considering it wasn't even optimized. I wasn't saying, hey, these are Facebook tips, or there wasn't a solid headline at all. There was really no real incentive for anyone to read that and check it out. Who's Phil Newton? Most people probably wouldn't know. And a process flowchart for what? So to see it get so many views makes me think that it can really be a good medium for content, embedded slideshows. So that's why I'm interested in this LinkedIn Connect, and I'll be doing it for my own profile. Now, next up, we have the turn your pop-up into an email sucking machine. Now, this comes to us from Brian Harris over at Video Fruit. Really like what he's doing. The way he's using lead pages, Opt-in Monster, and some of these other tools, he's really creating a lot of success. And I think he's kind of ingrained himself with some of the right people, Noah Kagan and lead pages, for example. Expect a lot of good stuff out of him. I've already seen a lot of great stuff, but I can only imagine where he's going to go. So anyways, he addresses everyone's hatred for pop-ups, but he goes on to mention how effective they are. Now, recently, after running a series of tests on his personal pop-up, he was able to increase the conversion rate from 2.8% to 6.8%, as shown in this image on the blog. Now, our personal experience with pop-ups is that they work incredibly well. After reading a post and mentioning it in the Friday Reload, I think it might have been the 7th or 8th by Conversion XL, I finally was convinced, and I said, listen, we need to jump on board with this pop-up train. Kind of met with the team, and everyone agreed. So our own experience with pop-ups, we've seen anywhere from 8 to 10%, give or take, in the opt-in rate. Now, this is for lower traffic numbers. at least with the test, we've only done limited testing with our pop-up. So it's cool to see someone like this who's gotten, say, I think 10,000 visitors. What he says, one of his tests had 40,000 views. So it's interesting to see how the pop-up holds up over the long haul. Now, I actually took some personal notes on this post and on his videos, and I'm going to share them with you here. Pop-ups are the second most effective way to generate opt-ins. The most effective is creating grocery store specific opt-in bait for each blog post. Now, ConversionCast does this extremely well, and their opt-in rates are tremendously high for it. The problem is that it takes a lot more time investment, and I think that you need the traffic to truly justify that quote-unquote grocery store specific opt-in bait. Now, also, he goes on about, he calls it the spike method, using Google Analytics to look at traffic spikes. Notice trends and popular content on your blog or site. From that content, create your lead magnets. If you don't have good traffic data, use BuzzSumo to look at similar sites and determine their most popular content via social shares that might make for good lead magnets for you. So if you're not getting the traffic, go and look at some competitors, see what content of theirs did the best, and then go, okay, this would probably, 7 Twitter tips or how to actually get 100 followers on Twitter. This might actually work well for my audience. Now, he discusses the MVP of lead magnets. So he'll have the pop-up opt-in go back to the original blog post. That way you can easily test the ad creative to see if it's worth building out to a nicer video or guide. I think that's really smart because you can kind of use the pop-ups as an easy way to test out a few different opt-ins without getting too fancy, and then know, okay, these are the lead magnets I should create and these are the lead magnets I shouldn't create. Now, you want to be careful because you don't want to piss people off here. Now, how often should you show the pop-up? Every 14 or 30 days is what he sets his pop-ups to, which relates to the next point, pop-up stacking. So by using different pop-ups, you can avoid ad fatigue and keep your numbers good. The way he does his headline writing is he'll take a look at BuzzFeed and Huffington Post. He'll then plug them into BuzzSumo, and he'll look at the top 10 or so popular posts from the last month. Then he'll use them to craft headlines. He also uses King Sumo, so a big sumo guy over here, to test 3 headlines of every blog post. I believe that he's testing the headlines to see which ones get the most social shares. Now, he has a visual, you'll have to check that out on the blog if you're listening, of his old pop-up, and basically it was, how did Gary Vaynerchuk get 832,000 YouTube views this year? Download the free case study and PDF strategy guide, and then it's got a little pie chart to the left. So that got a 2.8% opt-in rate for around 40,000 views. Then he took a look at his top traffic days using Google Analytics, and he noticed that people really liked it when he talks about growing an email list. So the new pop-up is just this headline, essentially. Grow your email list 358% in the next 30 days. After 17,000 views, the conversion rate has been 6.8%, which is pretty great. I mean, especially at that high level of views. Now, he has another video tutorial post where he shows you how to create a high converting pop-up in 5 minutes. So if you want to dig a bit deeper into the pop-ups, that's how you can do it. Our next subject is case study, how I grew my email sign-up rate by 91% with one simple technique. Now, if you guess, to cut to the chase, the way that Ian Brody was able to increase his email opt-in rate was with exit intent pop-ups. So that helped him get a 4.5% opt-in rate. Now, the reason why he went with these exit intent pop-ups is because they don't intrude, they don't stop you from reading the content, and they don't stop you from leaving. So they don't stop people from doing what they want to do on your site, but they do attract attention to get them to sign up. So consider this the best option to having your pop-ups after 5 seconds. This is like the second best option. Maybe you want the higher opt-in rate, but you don't want to be as annoying. So if you're wondering what the best solution is, so you've heard about exit intent pop-ups, general pop-ups. There's also the slide in from the bottoms. You have hello bars. Stay tuned. We're testing all of these things, and we're kind of figuring out our best practices, and we plan on doing kind of a case study blog post and breaking it down for you guys on how you can use this yourself and what worked well for us. Our next headline comes from Search Engine Land, and this is Mobile PPC Tips and Tricks, What Works and Doesn't. So this is a good post. I mean, it really breaks down a lot of different ways that you can get better with your mobile PPC. It focuses on ad copy, ad extensions, landing page, and scheduling strategies. But I also want to bring attention to a few of the stats that it mentions. So one thing that they mention is that a lot of people initiate research on mobile devices and then continue their journey on a computer. So research that starts on a smartphone leads to purchases across channels. 40% ended up purchasing via computer, and 38% ended up purchasing online. And the actions that mobile users take when converting offline, there's a lot of mobile users that end up converting offline, either through visiting the store or calling the store. So 51% of them ended up visiting the store and 48% of them called the store. So one way that you can have more efficient and better mobile PPC ads is to drive these people to the store or drive them for the phone call. Next up, we have 7 marketing lessons learned from acquiring a startup. Now, this comes to us from Neil Patel, and he recently acquired Stride app. Now, this is pretty interesting because I remembered hearing about this a little while ago, and I've kind of watched Stride app from afar and kind of watched them develop and watch the front page change and the UI. So he goes on to discuss, and one of the big reasons why I'm sharing this, I'll put him in quotes here, is Neil says, "It's been a long time since I've been in your shoes, meaning that I can't use any shortcuts or cheat codes to market a Stride app. Why? Because I have very few connections in the sales world." So he got a really good deal on Stride app, decided to acquire it, but he realized he couldn't leverage a lot of the network and connections he had. So he kind of just had to use his marketing knowledge and decide the best way to go about it. So he shares the insights that he's learned along the way, and I'm going to share a few of my favorites. So lesson number 3 that he learned is that nothing beats free. So he actually learned this from one of Kissmetrics' competitors, Mixpanel. Now, Mixpanel's brand has grown at a much faster pace than Kissmetrics, despite the fact that Kissmetrics has 2 to 3 times as much traffic. Now, this is largely due to their free plan. By transitioning Stride to a free model, he helped signups grow by 1,100%. I believe I said that right. And he makes a couple of great points about releasing a free product. Now, the first is that consumers forgive. People don't complain much when they sign up for a free product. And the second is you'll find opportunities to make money. Users are telling them what they will pay for the product if they add certain features. Now, this is a way for them to turn the product into a freemium. He says if you want to disrupt a market, whether it is old or new, consider releasing a freemium product. It's much easier to market something that is semi-free than something that costs money. Now, lesson 6, I also think is a really good message. And that is the hardest part about marketing is nailing the message. So a lot of people think the hardest part about marketing is execution, but you can hire people to execute for you. You can't hire someone to develop the message for you. And the reason being is you determine the best messaging for your product or your service from your customers. They're the ones who actually determine this. So we can use tools like Qualaroo and SurveyMonkey to ask our customers questions like, why did you sign up for this product? What are you hoping this product will solve for you? If you had to describe the product in one word, what would it be? If you had to describe the product in one sentence, what would it be? Now, he says that this isn't going to completely nail it down, but this will definitely give you a starting place. Now, once you do nail your messaging, your signups will skyrocket. Now, the 7th lesson, and this one I really like, is the world doesn't revolve around the United States. So from talking with other software companies that target small, medium business markets, he learned that they were able to penetrate competitive spaces by focusing on international markets first. Why? It's because those markets are underserved and companies within those regions have money to spend. So for example, taking multiple currencies can increase your international conversion rates by up to 30%. By translating your website into the languages of the markets you are pursuing, you can typically increase your conversion rate by up to 50%. I mean, that's some pretty crazy numbers when you really think about them. And it's a very interesting way. I mean, it's almost the same way that we always talk about niche marketing. You know, don't tell everyone how to lose weight, tell someone how to get six-pack abs, or how to lose your cankles, right? Or how to lose your man boobs. It's a niche type approach. And it's a similar thing. If you can't dominate the US, but maybe you can be the #1 sales tool or SaaS in Brazil. And there's plenty of money in these other places, but maybe they're not focused on as much by these bigger companies. So you can come in and really focus there and do well there, get penetration, get some market share, and then grow your way from there. Next up, it is tool time. So I've got another new batch of tools and sites that we can check out. So the first one is swiped.co, a new place for swipe files. Now, this place might just fulfill all your swipe file needs. Now, their tagline is the place for copywriters and marketing minds to dissect and discuss great marketing examples. So, I mean, I joke here, but you basically can't consider yourself a marketer unless you have a swipe file. I mean, whether it's Facebook ads or banners that you like. I mean, I was ripping out of magazines the other day, some creative that I liked. So what swipe.co does for us is it has all these different essential swipe files. So it has different banner ads, different pop-ups, email marketing, and even has a postcard. So we can go from different niches or types, we can search, and we can even browse by control pieces. Now they do have it set up in a way that you can kind of discuss and talk about the swipe files. It would be interesting to see if it actually does develop as a community, but in the very least, it's a good place to go if you ever need some new ad creative. Now our next tool, this actually comes to us from Full Context blog, and this is NowDoThis. So NowDoThis is basically the simplest, cutest little to-do list you've ever seen. And what's special about it, its special sauce, is that you type out the list of things that you need to get done. So a really horrible example is do laundry, cook eggs, pick up the dry cleaning, stop by the grocery store. So you type those 4 things into the to-do list. Then once you click ready, it's going to show you one item at a time. So once you click done with that first item, it'll go on to the second item, and then it'll go on to the third item, and so on. What I really like about this is it just narrows down your focus so nicely. I mean, so often we have so many things to do, and it's something that I don't like. I don't like looking at my to-do list for the day because I'm thinking about all these other things, and I can't get to them yet. I need to finish filming this before I can email the Friday Reload, or I need to finish it before I can post it on social media. So why do I need this kind of plaguing my mind? So I really like that. I mean, it's really simple, really free. NowDoThis is what it's called. Check it out. Now our last one, this one I actually found out about on Reddit, and this is 5 critical email reports every web entrepreneur should be receiving, and there's a tool within this. Now, I like 2 of the tools he mentions, and you should also consider using if that then this if you haven't yet. So the first one that I really like that he mentions is Google Analytics traffic alerts. So I'm sure you've probably heard of it. You probably have Google Analytics just installed. Do you check it as often as you do? Probably not. But you can set up alerts for every time a big change happens. So recently he got an alert when one of his websites reached the front page of Reddit. The reason why this was good is because he could go in there, comment, and answer questions on Reddit, which helped the post become that much more popular. So he was able to ride the traffic wave a lot better. Now, the next one that he mentioned is brief metrics. So we talked about Google Analytics, and how often do you actually check it? Think about it. When's the last time you checked your Google Analytics? Maybe once a week, once a day, It's usually a lot more when you start your site, and then you kind of phases out. And I'm guilty as well. I'm not just pointing the finger here. So as he mentions, you need to be constantly aware of how much traffic your site is getting, where it's coming from, and what's most popular. What Brief Metrics does for us is it sends a weekly email summarizing our stats with it, and it has a 10-week free trial. So I mean, you really can't complain. So it has a very simple set it and forget it process. They tout it as being actionable analytic emails, which I really like the sound of, and you can even custom brand it if you want to send it out to clients, for example. So our next headline comes to us from Conversion XL, and this is 10 Google Analytics reports that tell you where your site is leaking money. We're already on this Google Analytic kick, so let's keep it going. And this post, it works as a nice mixture, as a bit of a checklist of places to look, how to look. It tells you how to pull these reports in Google Analytics. And then it also talks about interpreting the data. You have to be careful that you're getting good data and that you're reading it correctly. Otherwise, you can make incorrect decisions. So you should know the deal by now, but if you don't, there's 10, and I'm just going to list my favorites. So the first one is funnel visualization. So every site that has a funnel should start with funnel visualization, and basically every site has a funnel. And now this allows us to see how much traffic is dropping off at each funnel step. So we talk about the two-step checkout. We've talked about that before on the site. If you haven't heard of it, basically it's so when you go to purchase a product, there'll be 3 steps. The first step might be enter your email and your phone number. The second step might be your credit card information. The third step might be to confirm. So the reason we do it in that way is so if someone enters their information in the beginning and then bounces, we still have their information and we can follow up with them. Now, an interesting example of a way that we ended up doing this as well is on our homepage when we are advertising the giveaway, which we still are, $1,500 giveaway. Just leave us a review through the landing page. You can find it on the blog. But anyways, so we have a pop-up and it advertises the giveaway. Now, the way the pop-up works is you have to have someone opt in order for it to work. So when someone opts in, they are taken to the landing page, which will allow them to basically complete and leave the review and leave their review copy so that we can verify the review and enter them into the giveaway. Now, we also have an email follow-up sequence, a 2-step email follow-up sequence. So anyone that opts in the beginning, we follow up with them via email, and then they are also taken back to that original landing page. So the point being is this is a miniature funnel. And one of the ways we could analyze that is we could see, so how many people opt in on the front end on that first step, and then how many emails follow up and get people to opt in, and how many people opt in after seeing the second page. We might determine that that first step is just a waste and needs to be taken out. So basically you just want to look at your entire funnel, and being able to visualize it and see it, you can see where the weak point is and what you hopefully need to change. Now, the next one that I really like is conversions per browser and conversions and bounces per device. So basically looking closely, we can see how well our site is performing across different browsers, browser versions, and devices. We can run a similar report on screen resolution and conversion bounce. And this is just one of those things where you're really looking for the flaws. You're looking to see what stands out and if the numbers are large enough that it's worth fixing. If you have enough people that are coming in through an old form of Internet Explorer, for example, Kevin Davis in the interview talks about his scrapbooking industry. So maybe these are older women, most likely, and maybe they're using an old form of Internet Explorer. They're not using Chrome, they're not using Firefox, they're not using Safari. They're using an old version of Internet Explorer. Well, your site needs to be optimized for that old version of Internet Explorer in order for your conversions to do the best. I also like how they break down per device and screen resolution. Same thing, you don't know where your people are coming from. Maybe you're well optimized for iPhones but not Androids, or you work well on large screens but not small screens. So the last one, or the next two, that I really like is high traffic and high bounce exit rate pages. So this is really just knowing where's your traffic going, what are the big sources bringing it in, and where is it leaving. And on that note, the high traffic pages, you want to make sure that all those pages have some sort of email opt-in. I know the about page on websites tends to get a lot more traffic than most people realize. So that's a place where you could be missing out on a good opportunity to collect email opt-ins. Now, our next headline is how to launch a product, make money, and get incredible feedback. So Carl relates his tale of launching mail charts. Now, he says that user feedback is incredibly important in the process of building, but getting feedback is way more difficult than it usually seems. So what Carl did is he leveraged Product Hunt, which we've mentioned here before, and we use to find new tools. where community members post new products or services. So the way it works is it's almost like a Reddit. And if you haven't seen Reddit, someone will post a new tool or service. It will get upvotes or downvotes, I believe. Maybe it's just upvotes. And then people can comment and have discussions on these new products or services. So there's a really good community and they're always sharing their thoughts. And Carl says, never have I seen a community that is so supportive, welcoming, and full of constructive criticism. He goes on to state that the most valuable feedback you can get will come from real paying customers. Now, freemium is great and it certainly has its place, but it isn't the best representation of those willing to pay for what you offer. He also goes on to mention that he ended up getting, I believe, 30 plus new paying users in less than a week from the post. And he talks about, unique page views and a bunch of new subscribers, which is really awesome. But it's almost less on the money aspect, and it's more just having a bunch of eyeballs on a product and being able to quickly get feedback. Next up, we have coming to us from the Moz blog, everybody needs local SEO. Now, I gotta say, this one has some really funny images. I gotta give it up to him. And anyways, Greg Jefford builds the case for knowing local SEO. He says, if you work in the SEO industry, you need to understand how to do local SEO. Seriously, I'm not kidding here. If you're sitting there thinking, no, not really, then you're exactly the person I'm writing this for. So local SEO, I can definitely see how it might be seen as, below some people. Maybe if you make a lot of money, you do very well. Maybe you work with e-commerce stores, whatever it is. And you're like, local SEO, I don't need to know local SEO. Well, if you ever end up doing SEO for a business that has a physical storefront, you'll need to do some local SEO. You want to ensure that you show up in the map pack, which happens to show up above the organic results on mobile. Now, when you're working on your optimizations, there's some important elements you need to concentrate on for local SEO, which are covered below. So I'm going to run over these real quick, and you can check out the post if you also want to see how he says to beef up your citations. So mainly, it's all about the city and state. So you want to have the city and state in the title tag, and the headline one heading, in the URL, in the content, in all tags, in the meta description, and you want to include an embedded Google map. So obviously you can't always have this in some of these things, but this is kind of the best practices that it lists. Now we're going to close out with a few different Facebook stories that we had. So Facebook related news. Now the first one is the most exciting. Facebook's newest call to action test, buy. So Facebook is currently testing a way that users can buy a product without leaving Facebook by clicking a buy button right on the ad. Now this is going to be available on both desktop and mobile among the advertisers in the test group. Now, Facebook said, we built this feature with privacy in mind and have taken steps to help make the payment experience safe and secure. None of the credit or debit card information people share with Facebook when completing a transaction will be shared with other advertisers. And people can select whether or not they'd like to save payment information for future purchases. So this is pretty exciting. I mean, imagine if you can buy within Facebook. I mean, that's incredible. The fact that they could buy without even leaving Facebook. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that'll work and what'll end up happening, but just to see that they're even testing and moving in that direction is very exciting. Next headline is a Kenshu report, Q2 report, Facebook ad spend up 21%. Story is basically on the headline there. Now, Facebook also launched the ad manager for mobile, so they're bringing the ad manager to mobile. And this was, I know, a problem that a lot of people complained about for a little while. So now you'll be able to pause or resume campaigns, edit budgets and schedules, view insights, and respond to alerts. Now, they also recently released the Mention app. So if you're a bit of a Facebook celebrity, this one might work for you. And real quick, what the Facebook Mention app does is it helps large celebrities and brands kind of keep more in touch with the comments and likes and just kind of the wave that they are getting. Now, what I think is interesting about this is Facebook's, with the paper and the Messenger and the actual Facebook app, they've branched out and they've tried a few different things. They're not afraid to put out new apps and, kind of branch off from their product. So I think that's very interesting. Now, in typical Friday Reload style, we're going to close it out with a nice infographic. Now, this one focuses on if your content abides by Facebook's contest laws. So if you run a contest on Facebook, this is a really nice infographic by ShortStack that will tell you if it is within the Facebook law or not. That will wrap it up for this Friday Reload. I apologize for my voice. As you can probably hear throughout it, my voice kind of just went down and down. And I actually didn't do this one on a Google Hangout for that purpose because I've been sipping tea in between filming it. But hey, I hope you guys still like it. I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're going to stay tuned. I don't think we're going to have any surprise podcasts this weekend, but we will have another podcast and blog post for you guys next Tuesday. So thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you again.